Welcome on back, everybody, to the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. My name's Jay Slice, and this is the Richmond Tigers mid-season review. We've been rolling through all of the teams' mid-season reviews over the last few weeks, and we're up to the Tiggy train. So, as with all these episodes, we'll have a look at their season so far. We'll then do a little quick player wrap-up, who's been good, who hasn't. Obviously, Richmond are fighting a lot of injuries, so we'll quickly discuss that. Still to come, what they've got remaining in 2024 and what we expect to see from them for the remainder of the 2024 AFL season. Pardon me. Before we jump into the episode, don't forget, plenty of content coming out over each and every week. This week's schedule is on the screen. Round 14 review went out on Monday. Yesterday, on Tuesday, we had the Adelaide and Collingwood mid-season reviews go out. Today, we've had Hawthorn come out, and this is now the Richmond one. Tomorrow, on Thursday, the 20th of June, we're going to have St Kilda and Western Bulldogs mid-season reviews coming out on YouTube. That will wrap up all 18 teams' mid-season reviews. So go check all of them out. Plenty of good content in there. And then we'll finish it up this week, Friday 21st. The regular podcast episode, round 15 preview, will go out on Spotify and YouTube. So go check them all out. Plenty of content. Don't forget to also like, comment, and subscribe on this video. All the interactions help, so I appreciate it. And also, we've got plenty of social medias out there. We've got Twitter, we've got Instagram, we've got Facebook, we've got TikTok. Plenty of content everywhere, so go check it all out. Without any further ado, let's jump into the Tiggy train season. And there's not a lot to say about much of this. As you can see on the screen, lots of red, lots of tough results for them. First off, they went to the Gold Coast in opening round. They got pummeled early. They were down by 10 goals at halftime, and it looked pretty horrible. Third quarter, they came right back in. They gained 6 goals on them, basically, in the third quarter. Gold Coast steadied in the last, and they ended up losing by 39 points. Round 1, which was their second game of the year, was actually a really good performance. They were leading by 8 points at three-quarter time against Carlton, and, in fact, gave themselves every opportunity, but just couldn't quite get over the line in the end. Carlton just winning that one. So a good performance, round 1 for them. Round 2, they went and hosted Port Adelaide in what Port Adelaide were favourites in this, I believe. Rightly so. They gave it another good run. The first quarter, they were just down by a kick. Second quarter, they won by almost 3 goals to be leading by 2 goals at half-time. Third and fourth quarters were a little bit average, and they ended up losing by 5 goals, but certainly not a terrible result from them. Round 3 was against Sydney, who haven't lost another game before that or since that. In what is undoubtedly the upset of the season. Richmond, granted, injuries hadn't really hit them too badly at this point, but wowee, what a boil over this one was. They were down at half time, not by much, just a little bit. Third quarter they dominated and ended up getting the 5-point win. I don't know what else to say about it, but they got the win. Good on them, well done to them. Round 4, they played St Kilda in Gather Round, and this could have been back-to-back wins, and to be honest, it probably should have. St Kilda were very ordinary in the first half. They led by 3.5 goals at quarter time. They were 22 points up at half time. Third quarter, they got pummeled, and in the end, they lost by 7 points, but that one was one that got away. This was really where injuries started to hit. They lost Taranto, I believe, during the week, heading into the West Coast game. Previously undefeated, previous yet to win West Coast over in the West, and they got comfortably beaten. Their first quarter was good. They were right in it. They were actually leading at quarter time. After that, it was just one-way traffic, really, all the way of the Eagles, who won by 39 points. They then had their first bye, which was due to them playing in opening round, and then they went up against Melbourne at the MCG. They kicked 5 goals 12 in what was a spate of 4 weeks where they just couldn't kick goals. From round 7 through 10, they kicked 5, 6, 6 and 6 goals. So they were really struggling to put a score on the board. Never in this one. They did win the second quarter, but other than that, she was pretty bleak reading and they lost by 43. Round 8, they hosted Fremantle and this one went just about as poorly. 6 goals 13. Once again, they won one quarter, which was the third quarter, but outside of that, very bleak reading for them. Round 9, they had the Bulldogs at the MCG, and this was a disaster. Yes, they have lots of injuries. They've had lots of injuries for the previous 5-6 weeks, but this one was a really bad result. I was at this game, and it was not the most enjoyable one I've ever watched. They were down and out from basically the opening siren. They lost by 91 points. They were over 100 points down at one point, but managed to kick the last 2 goals just to get it inside that 100-point margin. Not the same can be said for the next week. They went up to Brisbane to the Gabba and lost by 119 points. Never in this one either. Second week in a row they didn't kick a goal in the first quarter. So across the 4-week period that I mentioned before where they kicked 5, 6, 6, 6, they'd kicked 2 goals across the first quarters in those matches. So 4 quarters, 2 goals. Not great reading for them, to be honest. And yeah, not great at all. Anyway, that it happened. They lost by 119 and things at this point were really looking like they might spiral out of control. They then had Dreamtime at the G against the Bombers, and they wouldn't have been going in with too high of expectations, I wouldn't even believe. But they turned up, they played really well. They only lost by 12 points, which was a really good result for them. They were level in the first quarter, only down by a goal at half time, 8 points at 3-quarter time, and then finished up 12 points down. But a much better performance, and I think at least showed some fight in this one after the previous couple of weeks being really quite disastrous. Round 11, no, that was round 11. Round 12, they played Geelong down at the Cattery. Again, a solid performance. They're starting to get players back at this point, and they were actually up by 16 points at half time. They gave it their all, but just couldn't quite get over the line. Lost by 5 goals in the end. Geelong's ability probably was just a little bit more than them in the end and got them over the line. Round 13, they won. Out of nowhere. Well, maybe not out of nowhere. They had shown some positive signs the previous 2 weeks. But they went over to Adelaide Oval to play the Crows, and after trailing at half-time by a point, they came out in the third quarter and kicked 6 goals, put themselves right into the game and put themselves in front. And in the end, they held on for a 8-point victory. And after the period of 6 to 8 weeks that they'd had, it was a very big win for them, and their just morale around the club, I guess. Round 14 was Dusty's 300th. They had 92,000 at the G for a game against Hawthorn. Once again, not for the first time this year, they kicked really poorly in front of goal. 6 goals 13. They lost it by 48 points. They were never really in the game, but Dusty kicked the first goal, which was exciting for him and exciting for the 92,000 people. But overall, they just weren't up to the same level as the Hawks. So, as you can see, their season certainly isn't looking great. They have excuses, yes, but they've also been quite a long way off a lot of teams. And, in fact, across a 3-week period, they did not win one quarter. So, that's not great. That was the Bulldogs, Brisbane and Essendon games. They did not win a quarter. They only lost the Essendon game by 12 points, but they did not win a quarter that match. So they certainly have had a rough time of it so far this year. Having a look at some of their players, Taranto obviously missed a whole bunch of games. He's probably their best midfielder at the moment, and he missed, like 6 weeks or so. He missed from the West Coast game through till, I think, he returned for Adelaide, if not Geelong, but I think it was the Adelaide game. So he missed quite a fair bit of footy. But he averages 26 touches for almost 6 clearances. He's obviously a very, very good player. Nankervis is a really good ruckman. There's no doubt about that. He's their captain. He's a very good player. Shai Bolton's potentially one of their best players. He's a forward. He gets into the middle a fair bit, probably more this year than he has previously. He's averaging 18 touches, 1.5 goals a game, 3.6 clearances. His numbers are really good. He's probably been their best player this year. The only person that maybe can argue that is Vlosten as a defender has been very good. His intercept game, his maturity down back is very good. He's one of the only ones holding them together consistently. Dusty has been probably down overall on numbers, let's be honest. He is averaging 18.5 disposals, almost a goal a game. But yeah, compared to what he's capable of previously, he's probably down a bit. Other than that, I don't think they've got too much to write home about, if I'm being completely honest. Noah Bolt has been tried up forward. I don't think it worked too well. He didn't kick too many goals. Since going back, he's probably looked better and the team's probably looked better, let's be honest. Was it worth a try? Sure. It didn't work out, but that's football. Not everything that you try is going to work, is it? No, definitely not. Contested footy, Tim Taranto is their best at 12.7 per game. Hopper's really good too at 11.3. As I mentioned, Vlosten's their best interceptor. He's getting 8.2 intercepts per game. Anybody that really is bad at turning it over, Hopper and Taranto top the list. They are their best ball winners though, so you kind of expect that. So nothing too concerning there. Shai Bolton's their best in the centre clearances, which is a reason he's got more midfield time this year. He's averaging 2.1 centre clearances a game, whereas Tim Taranto is more of a stoppage clearance winner. In terms of ruckman, Nankervis's hit out to advantage percentage is really, really solid. One of the better ones, to be honest, in the league. And as we touched on, the goals per game, Shai Bolton leads that with 1.5 a game. Tom Lynch is also at 1.5. He missed a lot of football and really struggled in his return on the weekend against Hawthorn, if we're being honest. Goal assists, Tim Taranto leads that with 0.9 per game. Shai Bolton, again, is really good. So he contributes a lot to this team. Score involvements, Tim Taranto's their best. Dusty Martin, this is where he's been solid at, is 5.9 per game, so that's not too bad. But yeah, overall, their whole team's kind of struggling a fair bit. They've had a lot of players go through the field this year, just due to injuries and unavailabilities and whatnot. Let's jump into what they've got coming up for the remainder of 2024. First up, after the bye, they go round 16 at the MCG against Carlton Blues. Be a big game for Carlton. Richmond played really good against them earlier this year, but I wouldn't expect too much from them. They then play Fremantle over at Optus Stadium, their second trip to the West this year. Obviously, the last one was against the Eagles, and that did not go well for them, so I wouldn't imagine they would have too high hopes in this one. Round 18, they have the Giants at home. Again, tough game for them. Giants are going to be pushing, in their opinions, hoping for a top 4 spot. So that won't be an easy game. They then go to Adelaide Oval and play Port Adelaide before coming back to the MCG for Collingwood. for their first matchup of the year. The round 21, they finally get to play North Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. Maybe a chance for a win there. St Kilda in round 22, again at Marvel Stadium. Round 23, they play Hawthorn at the MCG. And then they finish off the way they started against the Gold Coast, this time in Melbourne, to round off their year. What do we expect from them? I wouldn't be planning on them winning too many more games if I was a Richmond supporter. Certainly over the next 5-week period, out of the bye, I can't see them winning any of them. Carlton, Fremantle, GWS, Port Adelaide, Collingwood shouldn't win any. Shouldn't. They did beat Sydney though, so you can't completely write them off. But I just don't see it happening here. The final 4 weeks, they'll probably have a chance to win a game or two, maybe. North Melbourne, potentially, depending where the two teams are sitting at that point, health and fitness wise. Potentially they'll go into that as favourites. Round 22 against St Kilda, they won't be going in as favourites to that, but you never know, they're a chance in that one. Round 23 Hawthorn, I wouldn't imagine they'll have much chance in that one. And then round 24 against Gold Coast, they shouldn't win that, but at the moment Gold Coast haven't won an away game yet this year. Whether things change before now and then, who knows. But yeah, maybe. So at best, probably 2 wins really for the rest of the year, which would have them at 4 wins for the year. And they would be looking towards that as, thank God this season's over. Let's refresh, regroup, and try and bounce back next year. That's about all I've got to say about Richmond. A little bit shorter of a video compared to some of the other teams, just due to the fact that there's not too much to say. I've just realised why it was so short. We skipped straight through the stats section, but I don't think there's anything too exciting on this their stats to go through. Quarter by quarter, they're terrible at all quarters, especially the second and fourth. Disposal count, they've lost all 14 rounds. Kick count, they've lost the head-to-head 13 out of 14. Handballs, they've lost 12 out of 14. So they just get dominated in disposals. Minus 53 disposals per game. Inside 50 count, minus 12.9 per game. They've only won the inside 50 count twice. Both times they won the match. Their disposal efficiency is 72%, whereas against them is 75%. Forward efficiency, 41.8%. Their opponents is 47.7%. Clearances, minus 4.5%. Setting clearances, minus 2.8%. Contested possession, minus 10.1%. They've only won the contested possessions 3 out of 14 rounds, including losing the last 10 weeks. So they're really struggling in the contested footy. Uncontested, they obviously also get smacked in. Turnover game isn't terrible. They're minus 3.5 in that regard over the year, but that has mainly been due to probably injuries. In the first 8 weeks, they only lost it 3 times, so they were really good in the first 8 weeks, whereas the last 6 weeks they've lost it every single match. So just a quick rundown of their stats there that I forgot to do earlier in the video. But as I said, you can't read too much into their stats. They've had a tough year with players, blooding a lot of young players due to injuries. I don't think they'd be in anywhere near contention of finals anyway, but maybe they'd be on 5 or 6 wins, potentially at best. But it is what it is for Richmond. They'll limp their way to the end of the year and hope to get some players back next year. As always, that is the end of this video, but don't forget to comment. Let me know what you think of the Tigs. Will they bounce back next year? Will they bounce back in the second half of the year? Let me know. Don't forget to check out all the other videos on the channel. Almost all 18 teams' mid-season reviews are out. There's only 2 to go, St Kilda and Western Bulldogs, which will be tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch us on the next one.